Yesterday down here, the summer house was reading 40 degrees. But it wasn't that bad, to be honest. But today has been a bit of a weird day. It's been muggy all day, as if a storm is coming. And the temperature is just very humid. So I've come down because I want to pick the first harvest of the runner beans. And today I've got some help.
After 25 years living in London, I've returned to my birthplace amongst the mountains of the South Wales valleys. Join me as I journey my new life with plans of growing my own food and ultimately creating my own homestead. Videos are posted every week, so if you like this one, give the video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button.
There hasn't been a bean on this plant for weeks, and now all of a sudden I can see loads of them. What I want to know is, at what size do you pick your beans though? Do you pick them like that? I'm thinking, because this variety is Ron the Black, it's a new variety that I haven't tried before. But you pick them like that, or do you tend to pick them a bit smaller like that? They're very nice straight off the vine, to be honest with you. I must remember to leave some in order to save my own seed. But the more you pick, the more it will produce more beans. So if you just leave them, they'll produce a few, then they'll start producing seed, and then they'll stop. Always start down the bottom first, and there's always one or two. See, that seems a nice size to me. In fact, it's so heavy, this side is starting to fall over. So next year, I will build more of a structure to house them. To pick runner beans, don't yank, because the whole thing will come off and there are still younger beans growing. So just put your fingers up the top, gently pull, and they'll come off. Simple as that. Don't forget, there's always a few up the top somewhere. And also check right down the bottom. See, there's one there hiding. It is certainly a strong growing variety. And if the taste in the pot is up to standard, then I'll definitely be growing them year on year. And it makes it even more special to be growing something that was developed in the valley. And developed by a man that I used to know back in the 80s. Because if you save your own seed, obviously you can't save a seed if it is an F1, so check the seed packet. But if you save any other seed, then over the years it will become stronger because it adapts to the environment where it is growing. So in a few years' time, even with just a few plants, there will be shoals and shoals of harvests. But give it a thorough investigation, because there's always one or two that are hiding behind a leaf. And this is why we cut them back last month, because you don't want them too high, because you might not be able to reach them. Well, I think that is a good enough feed for one evening. There's many more, but they're all quite small, so I will add these to the ones I've already got in the shed, and I will have these tonight. with a bit of butter. But I can see it's such a vigorous plant that maybe next year I'll put the sticks further apart, give them even more room to grow. See, there's one hiding there. There's plenty more flowers, which means even more. Look at that one. One more. See, once you start, you can't stop. We're going home with our produce, yes we are. With our runner beans, yes we are. We're going home with the runner beans. Home with the runner beans. There we go. For the first harvest, I'm very impressed. I'll pop them on the scales when I get in, just to see how much they weigh. I like to keep a record of things like that. Well, I've been down the old farm to get me eggs, but now it's all about the runners. There they are. Right, let us put them on the scales first, because I'm interested to know. Obviously this is only the first batch. Right, what do we do it in? Oh, no, not fluid out. Pounds and ounces, I think. Good old-fashioned way. This first harvest is... oh, not even a pound. 9.6 ounces, 243 grams. Alright, well, seeing as I did eat some, so maybe it's a pound. Right, now the question is, are they stringless or are they not? I've looked on the old interwebs and I cannot find any information. Now, I would be very surprised if something this size hasn't got a string. So should I prepare them as if I think they have? Because when I snap them, there is no string. Because sometimes when you snap them, you know. So I don't know what to do. So if you've tried this variety, Ronda Black, then let me know. Now, do you remember these? I remember these from the 70s and 80s. But every time I've tried, they don't work. You need a really strong bean to do it. You just put them through the thing. But as a kid, I seem to remember they worked. So maybe I've always had limp beans. Right, put these eggs to one side. I will deal with them forthwith. Because I remember you put them through and then you just pulled. But when I've tried before, they just snap off. Oh, it might be working now. Making me out to be a liar. There you go. And then, I'm pretty sure that's all we did. I don't know. I can't remember. And there's nobody from those days around to ask. Now, I'm going to do them as if they are string, because it would be not fair if I prepared them, which I've done in the past. Not this variety, but I've prepared beans in the past and then discovered that even though they said they were stringless, they weren't. And then they're not nice. And then you end up wasting them. So rather than wasting these, I will treat them as if they are not stringless. Now I used to have a machine in London, a circular thing, where you put the bean in the top and you just spun it around and it cut your beans. But I didn't like the way they used to cut them. They used to cut them like that and on the side. Oh, that's interesting. Was that just about to produce a... Well... Just remember being sat there for hours doing this. It's certainly crunchy. This takes me back to the old family house. Now, in our garden there, we had... Oh... We think 2 apple trees, one really large one which was a cooker, an eater, and then we had 2, possibly 3 pear trees. Yes, I think it was 3 pear trees now. But over the years they got old. And they stopped producing. The pear trees did. But the apple tree, I don't even know, the apple tree could still be there. It would be nice to go back and have a look, but you can't just rock up to somebody's house and go, excuse me, can I come in and film your garden? But yes, every October we would have cardboard apple boxes. If you think about it, we were more environmentally conscious in the 70s and 80s. Then plastic bags came in during the 90s, or I remember seeing them more during the 90s, because in the 80s you used to go shopping if you went to like the co-op or somewhere, and they used to give you a box. I grew up in the co-op store, so I know how to put a box together. You see people now put in all the veg in the bottom and put in tins on top. Always put your tins on your bottom, on the bottom run, and salad stuff goes in last. But our garden, let's go back to that, had apple trees. Then every September we'd pick the apples and we would have loads, boxes and boxes of the things, and we'd give them away to the neighbours in the next street. And then we would have loads of apple pies for weeks then, because they were making pies and they thought, I'll do one and send a pie back. So October, November, we were well stocked when it came to desserts, homemade desserts of apple. And blackberries in August as well. Haven't seen any yet. I'll have to go for a walk and see what I can see, and I'll take a bag with me just in case. I was hoping to get out and to harvest some wimberries, which is like the wild blueberry that we've got here. But people tell me that they've been and the harvests are not that big, and it's not worth going all the way to the mountain just for a handful of berries. But like everybody, we used to eat more than what we used to take home. So besides the apples and the pears, all I remember is we used to have a row of runner beans. My father used to love peas, and we'd have a row of peas. And I remember on the day of the funeral, there was a bag of peas out in the kitchen to make some food, and a robin flew in and sat on the peas. And a robin is said to be somebody who's come back to visit you. Probably saying, put these peas back in before they defrost and go off. And regarding flowers, all I remember is fuchsia. There was a very large fuchsia bush in the middle of the garden. And the other thing that we had were roses. Loads of roses in a little flower bed towards the house. And that is why I find pruning roses quite easy, because that was the first lesson that I had in gardening, was how to prune roses. And then when we used to go on holidays to West Wales, because in those days you never went on a plane, you stayed in your country. I think we only ever went to England for weddings and funerals. So we'd go to Tenby, to Saundersfoot, to Newquay. We were always going to have a holiday in the woods, in a cabin, but that never happened. So I can't think of anything else other than roses, pears and apples and fuchsias, runner beans and peas that we ever had in the garden. And then when I started gardening, we had everything. Sweet peas, the lot. That also reminds me, I was down the homestead the other night, and I sat there and I thought, I've made a blunder here. So I sat there, and all of a sudden the very delicate scent of night-scented stock wafted the air, and I remembered then I had sown some seeds. But the reason why I think it's a bit of a mistake is because I'm never really down there in the evening. So I should have put them in this garden here, in the cottage garden, so that when the back door is open of an evening, I can smell them. I remember years ago I was talking to Marshall's Seed Company, and they wanted to get into videos on the internet showing people what to do. And I said, what's your best sellers? And they said, well, that's the problem with gardeners. In the first 2 or 3 years, they'll try a few different things. But then, like the beans here now, if this Run the Black turns out to be successful, I'll stick with this one. And he said, you can compare people's orders now to when they first started. So if somebody started in the 60s, he said 99% of the time the orders are exactly the same, just people buying the same things. He said gardeners don't change that often. Once they find something, they stick to it, which is funny because that's what I'm thinking about doing. If this bean tastes fine now, then I'll stick to it, save my own seed and build up my own stock. I hear a lot of people complaining this year about the quality of seed, and I think that's what we need to do from now on, is to save our own. Secure your own future by saving your seed. Because who knows, there's tax going on this and tax going on that. Everything's going up. The only thing that's coming down are my trousers. And if they could tax that, they could. Now, I'm thinking these may have been a bit too small, and I should have left them. But I've started, so I'll finish. I always find though at this time of year, when the harvests start to come in, like this now, you're all excited. You'll spend a good 20 minutes preparing the veg. And you'll do that 3 or 4 times. And then within a few weeks you're sick of the sight of beans. Not because of you don't want to eat them, but it's the preparing when you think it's so much easier just to open a tin or get them out of the freezer. But for me, it's all about the freshness and about, I know where these beans have been and I know where they're going. I think as the years go on, we'll need to take a bit more responsibility for our future and look after ourselves more. You remember in the past in London when we had that petrol strike. Within days there was no food in the shops and everybody started to panic buy. Whereas if you've got your own, like I've done a very small row of beans this year because I'm still in that early stage of getting the garden up and running. But next year I might put twice as much, and then I can save my own seed, and I can also do enough for the storage unit, and I can pickle beans, freeze beans, and then make sure there's enough food then and try and be as self-sufficient as possible. Nearly there. Right, down to the last one, although I think by the time I've de-strung this one there'll be nothing left. Right, I'll take a chance. Now the next question is, how do you prepare them? You could boil them, or maybe we could steam them. Look at that. Beautiful. There we go then. We'll pop that in now for 20 minutes. Look at that. Beautiful. Lash in some bread and butter now, and that'll go down a treat. Also just had a few little potatoes left, so threw them in as well. Look at that, that's a real meal. Go, top it off with a big knob of butter. Just leave that now for about a minute for it to soak in. This takes me back. Let's hope they taste as good as I remember as a child. Oh yes. Let the memories flood back. I will certainly be sticking to Rhondda black beans. Homegrown, home raised and home eaten. Well, I'm going to enjoy this now in a bit of peace and quiet, bread and butter and a cup of tea. So I'll catch up with you next time. If you do run a beans, tell me below, what varieties do you grow? And I'll catch up with you really soon. I better get on. Bye for now.